We're staying with the debate over gun laws in the U.S., where officials in that country say Texas inmate suspected of murdering 5 people after he escaped from a prison bus was killed by authorities on Thursday. A massive manhunt was underway for 46-year-old Gonzalo Lopez when an adult and 4 children were found dead Thursday evening inside a residence in Leon County in East Central Texas, near where the inmate had escaped 3 weeks prior. Lopez was believed to have broken into the home and committed the murders. That's according to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. There is more in this report.
Authorities say Lopez may have stolen clothes, firearms, and a 1999 white Chevrolet Silverado from the residence. The house was believed to be a weekend home for the victims, whose primary residence was in Houston. Officials also say the family had been seen there on Thursday morning and were found murdered around 6 p.m. local time after an individual contacted law enforcement because they had not heard from an elderly relative inside the home and were concerned. Authorities also had initially said that 2 adults and 3 children were discovered dead there.
At approximately 6 p.m., law enforcement officers responded to a residence on Highway 7 and discovered 5 bodies inside the residence, 2 adults and 3 children. There is some information for us to lead to believe that Gonzalo Lopez was the individual that broke into that residence and committed these murders.
Later that night, deputies from the Atascosa County Sheriff's Office spotted the stolen pickup truck that Lopez was believed to be driving and followed it. They laid out spike stripes that flattened all 4 tires of the vehicle on a street in Jordanton, just south of San Antonio and some 250 miles southwest of Leon County. The suspect then pointed a rifle out of the window and fired several shots at the deputies, who returned fire. That's according to authorities. On Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden delivered remarks on the nationwide issue of gun violence in Washington, D.C. He addressed the recent mass shootings across the country and the need for Congress to act.
This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children. It's about protecting families. It's about protecting whole communities. It's about protecting our freedom to go to school, to a grocery store, to a church, without being shot and killed. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough?
Meanwhile, the suspect was killed at the shootout and was confirmed to be Lopez, who authorities say was armed with an AR-15 and a pistol. Lopez, who was serving a life sentence for a capital murder in Hidalgo County and attempted capital murder in Webb County, managed to break free from his shackles, overpower a bus driver, and escape from custody near Centerville on May 12 while being transported from Gatesville to Huntsville for a medical appointment. He was added to Texas's 10 most wanted fugitives list, and a $50,000 reward was issued for his capture. Authorities had said Lopez was allegedly affiliated with the Mexican mafia.
Let's get more perspective from a foreign policy analyst, Somto Chukwu Ike Jofo. She joins me from Texas. Good to have you join us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So we're seeing new conversations on just gun measures generally after this spate of mass shootings that the U.S. has seen recently. But let's be clear that previous shootings have failed to generate any sort of meaningful laws. So what is the guarantee that things would change this time?
There is no guarantee. That's how the legislature works. There is no guarantee, but we do believe that many gun advocates and many gun advocates and non-gun advocates are really seeing a different shift in the conversation right now.
And I want to just pick out what President Biden said. He talked about issues around mental health as well, especially rendering more mental health services for students. How do you factor that into this?
So yes, there is some credibility to that point, but the fact still remains that the underlying common denominator is the guns. We have to figure out a way to have safe and a safe ownership of guns. I just want to have a disclaimer. I am pro 2A. I love the Second Amendment, but I am also a sensible person. I'm also I'm also a big advocate for sensible gun ownership and safe gun ownership.
And I asked the question because some of these shootings were racially motivated. In some cases,
Yes.
we would get the briefing from law enforcement that the attacker had a mental health issue, but some of them were also racially motivated. So if you're providing mental health services to students, how do you fix racism and ensure that it doesn't lead to mass shooting? That's another issue that wasn't raised in this conversation.
Yes. So I am just one person. I cannot fix racism. We as a society have to choose to ensure that having racial issues and racial biases is something we need to work on. That's given. But when it comes to that, there are steps that we can take to ensure that these racially motivated killings can stop. We can have accountability, liability issues, insurance for gun owners. Affecting the bottom line is usually where affecting the money and the bottom line is usually where change occurs. So I am very supportive of the fact that if we can put in laws that can make people liable for gun ownership, make them have insurance for gun ownership, and increasing the age limit. Like in Texas here, he was 18. He had to wait till he was 18. He asked his sister to actually buy him a gun, but the sister did not buy him the gun. So he had to wait till he was 18 to buy the gun. Same thing with the Buffalo person. He had to wait till he was 18. So if we can increase the age limit, that would deter it will have some deterrence. I'm not saying it's going to completely clear it out, but it will have some deterrence.
And let's look at it, because this is largely seen as a left and right issue, Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
But we know that as it stands, there was a poll by Morning Consult and Political that states that 44% of Republicans are now supporting stricter gun measures. If we also take it back, in 2000, while he was running, President George W. Bush did promise to sign a ban on assault weapon extension if Congress was to pass it. He was a Republican president. So where did we begin to see this shift in policy?
I think it has to be from the voters. The voters have to make the choice come November. Are you a single issue voter? Are you a multifaceted voter? Do you want the kids to be safe? Do you want to be safe in your grocery store? Do you want to be safe in your neighborhood? And so it is from the voters. There's nothing that we can do about that because the NRA is a huge lobbying firm. It's a huge lobby. They have a lot of money. And in America, money is political speech. So this is coming from someone who actually ran for office. So I'm telling you firsthand that if elected officials don't have the funds to run their campaign, believe me, they are not gonna. Nobody wants to lose their seat, and they're gonna do whatever they need to do to retain that seat. So that means it has to come from the voters. The voters have to make the change come November. That's where the policy can change because no one wants to push that envelope of, do I take away guns? Do I not? Like you said, President George W. Bush actually promised that, but he didn't do it. Again, this was a Republican president. But there is some momentum for responsible gun owners to push for gun safety. Because guess what happens? If this continues really badly, guns can be taken away, and those who are responsible will have their rights stripped from them, So they want to prevent that. And by preventing that, they want to make sure that, there is gun safety and there is safety around guns and nobody who doesn't need to have them gets them,
And President Biden also threatened the full wrath of voters while he was speaking. He was addressing the opponents of stricter gun measures. But do you see this really?
Yes, he did. It was very.
But I just wanted to ask if you see this playing a huge role, issues around gun laws playing a huge role in the midterm elections.
I think so. I think so. Because guess what's happening? The kids who had to do the gun safety drills, training and gun safety drills are coming of age. We just forgot, people are forgetting that a high school graduation just passed. So people are coming of age. People are ready to go to the polls. I think that it's going to make a difference. It might not make the huge, significant difference that we need, but I think it's going to make a difference. I mean, you have the TikTok generation coming into fruition, becoming 18, and November they can vote. So yes, I do believe some kind of change will occur. I do believe that you are going to see. I do believe that it's easy to forecast that more progressive candidates might win the elections based on the issues going on right now with abortion, gun rights. Just a lot of issues going on.
And we'll continue to follow the conversation in the U.S. on stricter gun measures. Thank you so much for talking to us, foreign policy analyst Somto Chukwu Ike Jofo.
Thank you for having me.